So, the news in Australia. We had a federal election, and the two major parties drew. We had a grand final, the biggest sporting event in Australia, and the two teams drew. And now we have a state election, and they started counting the votes yesterday, and there's a chance that they might draw on that! Yay! Welcome to Australia, the country that just cannot decide. But, of course, the theme for the week is not the state and federal election and Australia's inability to decide on who exactly we want to win at anything. The theme of the week is holidays. And I was going to talk about commercialism versus the actual meaning of the holidays, but it turns out that that is very, very overdone. So I kind of changed my idea and came up with this video instead. Okay, so there are a lot of celebrations in December. High Neighbour Month, National Stress-Free Family Holiday Month, Read a New Book Month, Safe Toy and Gift Month, Universal Human Rights Month, Right to a Friend Month, Eat a Red Apple Day, National Pie Day, Rosa Parks Day, World AIDS Day, National Fritters Day, International Day of the Disabled Person, National Roof Over Your Head Day, National Cookie Day, Wear Brown Shoes Day, and I'm going to stop there because that's only up till December 4th. So there are three big holidays that happen around December. There's the Christian tradition of Christmas, the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah, and the Muslim tradition of Eid Al-Adha. And I think I pronounced that one wrong. Christmas happens on December 25th. It is about the gift-giving and celebration of the birth of Christ, which happened after God impregnated the Virgin Mary, and Mary and Joseph travelled to Bethlehem. The wise men brought frankincense, myrrh, and gold. Yay. But there are also two others that happen around Christmas that the Western culture tends to know a little bit less about. Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of the Lights, is an 8-day celebration commemorating the rededication of the Temple of Jerusalem after its desecration by the forces of the king of Syria, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, and commemorates the miracle of the container of oil. Now the Jews had an eternal flame, but they only had enough oil for the flame to burn for one more day, and at that time it took 8 days to make more oil. So they were kind of panicking about what was going to happen. But after the first day, the flame didn't stop burning, and it kept burning for the 8 days it took the Jews to make more oil. This was seen as an intervention by God to keep the eternal flame burning. And to commemorate this, they started Hanukkah, which was an 8-day celebration where each day a candle would be lit on the menorah, which is a very special type of candelabra. This year it's happening in December 2nd, but it moves each year because it is based more on the lunar calendar of the Jews than the Gregorian calendar, which is what the Christian and most of Western society uses. Another big holiday is Eid Al-Adha, which is an Islamic holiday held this year on December 16th, but once again, based on the lunar calendar, so it kind of moves around a bit. It's also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, or Greater Eid, because there are two of them. One is held at the end of Ramadan to celebrate the end of Ramadan, and this one happens in December, or January, or November, depending on where the moon is. This celebration is based around the story of Abraham and his son Ishmael. Now, Abraham and his wife desperately wanted a child, and they prayed to God night and day, but they just couldn't get a child. Finally, after God's intervention, Abraham's wife got pregnant. Now, this was their miracle son. They never had any more children, and even though they were kind of old by the time it happened, they loved him unconditionally. Now, God continued to intervene in their lives whenever they really got into trouble. But one day, when Ishmael was 13, God sent a message to Abraham asking him to sacrifice his son at the next festival. Abraham was really unhappy about this, but he had great faith in God, so he agreed. But the problem was he also needed his son to agree. So he told Ishmael the story and asked him for what he wanted to do. Without hesitating, Ishmael agreed. If that was what God willed, then that was what needed to happen. So Abraham and Ishmael prepared for the sacrifice, and it was only at the very last moment that God intervened and placed a ram in Ishmael's place to be sacrificed. He said that he had not actually ever meant for Abraham to sacrifice his son. He simply wanted to test Abraham's faith to make sure that he truly believed in God. In commemoration of Abraham and Ishmael's faith, a ram is sacrificed each year. The really remarkable thing about this festival is that the ram is not kept by the family that sacrifices it. They keep only a third of the meat. Another third of the meat goes to their relatives, friends, and neighbours. But the last third actually goes to all the needy and poor that need a meal. The thing I find most remarkable about this is the many similarities between the three faiths. Abraham and Ishmael is also a very important story within the Christian tradition. It has a prized place in the Bible and is a prime example of the faith in God. And the Jews, who also believe in Jesus, but they believe he was simply a Messiah, not the Son of God, as the Son of God has not yet visited earth, whereas the Christians believe he is going to return one day. There are also many similarities in the way that whatever God is up there asks us to live our life. He wants us to be kind to others, to share what we have, and to look after those who need it. This is why I come to wonder about the many wars that have happened in God's name. I mean, the Holy Wars being a great example of that. What part of that was really about the faith? Maybe instead of worrying so much about whether everyone else believes the same thing as we do, the important thing is that making sure that everyone else believes in something that at the end of the day will make sure everyone is looked after and that everyone is treated fairly. I mean, we're always going to have small disagreements. There are so many different churches within the Christian tradition because of small disagreements over how the Bible should be interpreted. There isn't just one way to read the word of any God. But maybe the important thing isn't in exactly what we believe, but how we live our lives. So I say to everyone, celebrate whatever holiday you're going to celebrate. I hope you have a really great time, and I hope that it is the perfect holiday for whatever you believe. So in the comments, I want to hear, what do you know of the different holidays? What do you believe? And how do you interpret your religion, or lack of religion, into a way of living your life? I don't believe in a God. I mean, I don't believe that there isn't a God. I just don't believe that there is one. It's kind of like sitting on the fence and not making a decision. I kind of believe more in the way we live our lives than about worrying about an entity that may or may not be judging us for it. And to keep up with the fact that I seem to have had an animal in every single one of my Informed Ramblings videos so far, say hello to Patch. He's 7, but still looks like a puppy.